Okay guys, we're going to hit the road. Let's see where we're going to go today. Alright, let's take this. This run looks good. Nebraska. Alright, let's go pick up our load. Better get some fuel before I pick up a load.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest. Look, I am pissed. I am annoyed with the hundreds of DMs that I get every single day from people who want to become a millionaire but haven't been told what I'm about to tell you earlier. And it will all make sense in a moment. I'm gonna walk you through the exact blueprint that I'd follow if I lost everything and had to start from scratch. Look, I made my first million at 23 and I went from having $50 to my name to doing over $150 million in my agency and becoming a shark on Shark Tank. And no one is more surprised than I am. That's why I'm not here to sell you some magic shortcut. I'm here to show you what actually works right now because the game has changed. All right, let's get stuck into it. Step number 1. AI is replacing jobs faster than anyone expected.
Everything that moves will be robotic.
Could AI be coming for your job?
Concerns are growing about AI replacing some human workers.
Trust in business is collapsing and everybody is distracted. And most people are going to be wiped out in this new wave of disruption. But disruption is a window, and if you know where to look, then you can turn chaos into your first $1 million. Okay, so what is the new game? Well, the new game is to learn to use AI to solve $1 million problems for $1,000 faster and cheaper than anybody else. And it's not that there's like a brand new vertical that it is that you need to enter. It's all about solving these problems quicker and faster than traditional businesses are able to do. And you need to go where the big money is already flowing. I'm talking about the boring, cash-rich verticals like home services, legal, admin, customer acquisition. These are all the traditional businesses that have the the biggest AI gap. Now, don't look at these verticals and go, Sabri, they are already completely swamped with competition, and think that that is a downside. That is an absolute rookie mistake, because competition is proof, not danger. It shows that there is already a crowd in this market, i.e. people are already willing to part with their money to have these problems solved, which is step number 1. Solve $1 million problems for $1,000 using AI, which brings us to step number 2. And this is the biggest mistake that I see first-time founders make. I literally get 20 DMs per day from people who have made this fatal mistake, and it literally doesn't matter about anything else if you get this one thing wrong. Because most people try to force attention and compete with much more established competitors or create demand. That is a rookie mistake. You don't want to build demand, you want to channel it. The businesses that go out there and think, hey, I've got this incredibly innovative product that nobody else in the marketplace is selling, and it's so innovative that people don't even know that they need it, right? These are the pioneers that die with their face down and arrows in their back. You do not want to be this. You want to go out to a market that is already proven, that people are already buying things, and you simply want to channel some of that demand in whatever it is that you've got to sell. You want to hunt markets where money is already changing hands, where buyers are irrationally desperate and competition is asleep at the wheel. The key is that you want to find momentum so strong that it drags you with it. And right now, that stampede is AI. When I started my agency, King Kong, I didn't invent digital marketing. I picked the fastest growing, most underserved niche in business, which was customer acquisition. And that gave me a tailwind because I didn't have to go out there and start to pedal something uphill. At the time of starting King Kong, it was 10 cents of every dollar was being spent on digital marketing. And I saw the future. I saw that there is absolutely no way that that was going to continue. And I saw a future where it would be 70, 80, 90 cents of every single dollar would be spent on digital marketing. And 10 years on, that's where we find ourselves. So I had the benefit of having that wind on my back, those tailwinds to propel my business forward. And I didn't need to swim upstream. So how do you actually find these markets? Well, the first thing that you need to do is follow the cash. And you've got these big consulting groups like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain who put out reports that are like blueprints that show you exactly where the cash is going. And they've got all of the most highest paid consultants in the world that will do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. They are constantly analyzing the market and they will show you where the opportunities are. Now, if you don't want to read these reports, you can simply go to ChatGPT and prompt it to ask you, using McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, of what the markets are that are going to have the biggest tailwinds in the next 5 years. Now, another lens that I like to look through in terms of picking a market is, what is a service that is usually only available to rich people that you can make available to everyone? Think about how Uber, what they did is they took a private driver that was only available for rich people and they made it accessible to the masses using an app at the click of a button. Or Airbnb, they gave access to designer homes and exotic stays without the 5-star hotel prices. They took services that exclusively are only available to the rich and they made them available to the masses. This is a surefire way of already testing the industry to see if there is demand for these things, because people are always going to look up at those high-end services, but then they're going to count themselves out and be like, this is not accessible to me. So whenever you see one of those hot markets that you can see that like rich people are constantly using this service and you can think about a way to make that accessible to the masses, that is a winning idea, which is step number 2. Find a hungry analog market that is bleeding money. But listen, if you just want me to give you the market that you should enter, exactly what to sell and how much to charge, then you're going to want to take notes, because that's exactly what I'm about to give you in step number 3. So here are the 5 core AI skills and markets that I would enter today. The first market is AI automation. I would build a virtual AI assistant that sets up automations using Calendly, Gmail, Notion, and ChatGPT. And you can apply this to any single market. Whenever a lead books a call, it auto sends a personalized email, updates the CRM, and creates a custom property summary. And then I would charge $2,500 per setup to real estate agents. But it's not just real estate agents. Any single market where you have leads coming in and automatically booking phone calls, and then there is a need for a salesperson or someone within the business to then interface with those leads, having a setup like this will literally save people thousands of dollars. The next is AI development. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Sabri, I'm not a developer. That's okay, because there are hundreds of thousands of these guys, if not millions, on platforms like Upwork. And you can simply go to them and get a developer to build a back-end tool using Python, OpenAI, and a legal AI database of existing legal cases. Then what happens is you get lawyers to upload a whole bunch of their standard stock contracts, and then the system will rewrite them for new clients. They will flag risky clauses based on precedents and even suggest edits using language backed up by prior case law. And having a service like this will replace a $70,000 paralegal that law firms are paying right now. And I would charge them between $1,500 and $2,500 per month in order to get access to this. And the third market is AI data analysis. So think about this one as an AI data scientist plus a growth marketer. And what you do is you connect Shopify and Klaviyo to BigQuery that uses ChatGPT to analyze trends. So you build a dashboard that alerts a team when revenue dips or checkout abandonment spikes. And you could charge $5,000 per month to install a system like this. This one can be applied to literally any single industry that uses data to make decisions. It basically gives any single business the ability to have a full-time data scientist. Okay, so this next market is AI copywriting, where you train a custom GPT agent to write high converting sales copy, landing pages, ads, VSLs, any piece of copy that is actually deployed, that its sole job is to convert traffic into money. Or better yet, you could use Kong, which is my own software. I am biased. The link is in the description. But you could use this tool to pump out thousands of proven ads in seconds and build out high converting funnels for businesses. This is a huge pain point. Think about the market of agencies that exist that solely help businesses build out landing pages, build funnels, and write ads. And the way that Kong works is you simply copy and paste some basic information about those businesses into it, and it spits out winning ads, headlines, and landing page copy based on over $200 million in ad spend and $7.8 billion in sales. Then you could take that copy, whether it's for ads or landing pages, and you go to those clients and you simply say, hey, these ads are gonna outperform your existing ads by a minimum of 20%, or it's free, because that's exactly what Kong promises. So whether they're running Facebook ads, Google ads, or they've got a landing page, or God forbid they're sending traffic to their homepage, you can use Kong to basically get all of the copy that you need to completely build out that funnel for them. Which brings us to the fifth and final AI market, which is AI design as a service. So the core idea for this one is very, very simple. You use AI tools to replace an entire design team for a small business. And the way that I would offer this is as a modular service. I would be picking of like, what is a specific outcome that businesses want when it comes to design? So a lot of businesses want to update their social media. So I would sell social media content packs where they get 5 high quality carousel posts per month, styled in Canva using their brand colors, their quotes. It can rip copy off their website. And then they just have 15 high quality carousel posts that they can post on Instagram or TikTok or wherever it might be. And these are completely engineered to what goes the most viral. Or you could offer a short form video pack where they get 5 to 10 AI generated 15-second reels to post online via Sora or Runway or Google VO3, whatever the technology might be that you choose to use. And they can simply then take those shorts and upload them to IG, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. And the next one is D2C product photography. So you could use Midjourney to generate ultra high fidelity product photography. Or you can even create 4K lifestyle shots that takes their product and puts it in the hands of an AI generated influencer in any single background that it is that they want, and easily charge between $2,000 and $5,000 per month. And you might be saying, how? Well, all of these services are engineered to solve a bleeding neck problem that actually the client gets an ROI on. And they can look at this service and easily justify the $2,000 or $5,000 price tag because they're gonna make way more money than what it is that you're charging. Now, who is this for? Well, you could apply this to local businesses without in-house designers. You could apply it to D2C e-commerce brands with outdated product pages, or even coaches, consultants, gyms, therapists, tradies, or suppliers, or you could target influencers or info product creators that need monthly content. Everybody in business in today's day and age, they need content to post online. We are living in the attention economy, and any way that you can shortcut and you can remove the pain for them is going to be a win. And that's step number 3, the 5 core AI markets that print money. Step number 4. So how do we scale? This may be the most important step if you want to get to $1 million. So lock in, because most people, they trade time for money, and that's fine if you want to create a job and not a business. I only like to build sales machines, and that is businesses that sell on autopilot and that compound in value, because the new work model looks like this, where you have a 2-person, $10 million team. Think about it, where you have a visionary plus a technical director who can leverage AI. And this is the new norm, where you have a director mindset, i.e. it is a high leveraged business model where you can have the visionary that thinks about, okay, what is that dream destination that my prospects are trying to get to? And then you have the technical implementer who can then take that vision and break it up using AI, where you get ridiculous leverage. You need to have the director mindset where you aim for 90% plus of all the repeat work to be handled by AI. And here is my filter for doing this. So the 3 laws of leverage. You want to be thinking about, what is a business model that I can enter, or a service that I can sell that has reoccurring revenue? You want to get paid monthly, where you're not having to constantly chase new clients forever. And the next thing is that you need to have high margins. I'm talking about 80% plus. Think of it this way: digital beats physical. So the cheat codes for these kind of high margin businesses are services or information that you sell online. Where most people fall into the trap when it comes to selling services or info is that they simply sell out their time. But what you want to do is you want to sell outcomes and not services. Because when you sell an outcome, it allows for you to command higher prices. If you're constantly selling a service, people are like, they sit down, they scrutinize the list of everything that they're getting, how many hours that it is that you'd be billing them for, and it's constantly downward pressure on margins. But when you sell an outcome, that allows you to speak to the prospect about, okay, where is it that we're trying to go? What's this problem that we're trying to solve? How much is it worth to you to solve that problem? And then you sell that outcome. But if you stop just here, you're gonna have a hard life, because what it is that you want to do is you want to focus on the skills that you're acquiring while you're getting paid. And then as you level up as an entrepreneur, you want to move into bigger opportunities that leverage those skills even better than selling services, which is step number 4, high leverage business models only. Which brings us to step number 5. Listen, I sold $500,000 worth of services at King Kong before I even had a website. I actually did it with just a headset and a PDF. And I refer to this as my $500,000 PDF. I didn't sit down and think, okay, I need to have a beautiful brand. I need to have a brand deck. I need to get one of those big fancy websites, and I need to have all of these automations. If I would have done that, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. But instead, I thought about, what is the quickest way to go from 0 to 1? What is it that I actually need that's gonna give somebody enough confidence to actually whip out their credit card and buy? And I thought, hey, I can cover most of what it is that I need to cover in a simple PDF. And then I would have a basic billing form that would collect all of their payment details, and away I go. Because the fastest way to waste time in business is to build something that nobody wants. So instead of building and going through all that enormous effort up front, we are going to pre-sell your offer. So how do we actually do this, and how do we get clients? Well, don't forget that we're starting from absolute scratch. We have no money, no connections, no rich uncles, right? We are starting from the bottom. So here is our plan of attack. The first point is we are going to be building a list of dream clients. So whatever the niche is that you operate in, right? If you're going to go after home builders, you want to think about, okay, cool, these are the home builders that I'm after. And we want to build a list of only all of the home building companies that are in the geography that it is that you're going to be attacking. And you might be thinking, oh, Sabri, that's a lot of work. How do I go out and do that? Again, we're going to go to Freelancer or Upwork or any of these outsourced platforms that we can find talent in order to do that for us. And there is endless numbers of data scrapers where you can simply say, hey, I want every single home building client in San Francisco or in the whole of Canada, and they will go out there and they will build you a list of only those people. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use cold email outreach to actually send a message to those people, because we don't have enormous amounts of money to spend on paid ads and building funnels and doing all of that stuff. We have to get down in the dirt, roll up our sleeves, and use human capital to go out there and get clients. We're going to send 400 cold emails per day. Again, we're not going to do that personally. We're going to use software. You could use Woodpecker or Instantly.ai. Again, these things you can get for $29 up to $99 a month. It's not an enormous amount of money. And don't worry, because our clients are going to be paying for those fees for us. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But we're not going to stop here, because this is just one of the tools in our arsenal. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use LinkedIn automation tools to get 150 contacts per day. You can use Linked Helper, Salesflow.io, or Apollo. Again, it doesn't matter about the technology. These things are forever changing, and there are endless platforms that you can use to do this, where it's basically you're going to, again, identify who your dream client is, whether it's home builders, and you're going to use these tools to automatically go and request connections to these people, and then even message them and follow up with them for you, so you get inbound leads coming into you. Now, once we've got all of these contacts on LinkedIn, then what we're going to do is we are going to send one-on-one personalized Loom videos to a whole bunch of those contacts every single day. I like to spend 1 hour per day and send 5 super customized and personalized videos to those people, because then we have a mixture of like the shotgun approach where we're doing 400 cold emails a day. And again, you got to warm up to those numbers. You can't just start on 400 straight out of the gate. But we're not going to get into all the technicalities of sending cold emails, because there are endless videos on YouTube that do a much better job at that, and you can walk through step by step exactly what it is that you need to do. But the whole thing is to not get bogged down. It's movement, not meditation. And the way that we do that is we do this level of activity and we create a down and dirty PDF that summarizes what our offer is. And then when it comes time to somebody to actually buy, look, we're not taking clients right now, or we're at full capacity, but we're going to be opening this up in 2 months' time. All we require from you is a $2,000 deposit to hold your spot. Only once you take deposits do you know that you have got product market fit, because people are actually not just talking about doing business with you. They've pulled out their credit card and they're willing to pay you for this solution. Which brings us to step number 6. So at this stage, we have all of the groundwork laid. It's now time to introduce you to where most people get stuck, because they get in their own way of ever becoming a millionaire because they overcomplicate things. So let's make this super, super simple. As Elon Musk says, you either help a lot of people a little, or you help a few people a lot. So you want to think about, like, how big is this problem that I'm solving, and how many clients do I need to get in order to hit that $1 million per year mark? And the way that I like to think about it is that the math needs to be so simple that even a third grader could grasp it. Let's break this down. In terms of, you've got your $1 million target. So this is what that looks like. You can either get 8 whale clients that happily pay you $10,000 $1,000 per month each, or you could go for 16 high-ticket clients that pay you $5,000 per month, or 41 medium-sized clients paying you $2,000 per month each, 83 small businesses paying you $1,000 per month, or 166 micro clients paying you $500 per month. But what I will tell you from experience is I probably wouldn't recommend going for 166 micro clients. People look at it and they think, hey, it's gonna be way easier for me to charge somebody $500. Like, they're gonna be so much more willing to spend that than they will for 5K, right? What I will tell you is that those $500 clients, they're gonna make your life a living hell. It's always the clients that pay you the least that cause you the most problems. And it's also a much bigger number that we need to go after, 166. So I like the price point between 2 to 5K per month, and you need to be going after a problem that's big enough in order to justify that, but that's the sweet spot. And what you can see is that you're gonna need between 16 and 41 clients in order for you to hit that $1 million per year mark, which is super, super achievable, especially if you're following the plan of attack of reaching out to all these businesses like we just ran through. And this is step number 6. It needs to be back of the napkin math simple. If it's not, you're just completely overcooking it. But none of these steps will matter unless you apply the 7th and final step, because this is the difference between you building a business and not a job. Most people build a beast of a business that literally digs its claws into your back and leaves you with nothing but the scraps. Okay, so once the business is growing, it is all about building a machine and not a circus, because the amount of businesses that I look at and I speak to every single day, they are not businesses, they are a circus. It is complete and utter chaos in these businesses. People are running around with their hair on fire, and that is not what it is I want for you. So a good mental model for this is that you want to build a pizza-sized team. So the way that I want you to think about it is that you want to keep your team under 8 people until you hit $1 million in revenue, because every extra person that you add, it adds drag and not lift. And the more it gets bigger, the more complex it's going to get, the more managers that you're going to need to bring in to manage those teams. And at the end of the day, if you're sub $1 million, all of that is just noise. You want to keep it as lean and efficient as possible. You need to systematize your business, otherwise you will die. So what do I mean by this? Well, you need to document and delegate absolutely everything. Now, at this stage, there's probably a voice in your head that's telling you all of the reasons why you can't execute this plan. But let me go back to what I told you at the start of this video. You do not need money to start. All you need is courage, a starving market, and a strong offer. And if you want to know exactly how to craft an offer that people simply can't refuse, then I made this whole video here that walks you through that whole thing step by step. And remember, the world doesn't reward the cleverest, it rewards the most committed. Go get them.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn $1,000 into $45,000 through email. And over the last 90 days, we spent just under 10 million emails from acquisition.com, and we generate tens of millions of dollars across our portfolio using email itself. And in this video, I'm going to break down emails that I've sent, and I'll give you the 10 tactics that have worked very well for us so far. First things first, here's why I think you should do email. I was a moron and decided to not email for the vast majority of my life because I hate money, apparently. And so the average ROI for email, depending on the source you look at, is between 35 and 45 return. So that means that for every dollar you spend on software or putting time into your email, you can get like $45 back. Like, imagine if there was a stock investment that you could 50x in a week. Well, that's kind of like what email is, and people still don't do it, myself included. And part of the reason that making money on email is more profitable is because you actually have already spent the time to acquire this contact. And so in a lot of ways, email is just follow-up. And so you spent the cost to acquire the lead, now you're just reminding them that you exist. And so basically the only real cost is just whatever software you use and whoever or whomever you may have to pay in order to write the emails. That's pretty much it. And so one email writer can send an email to 10 million people, and that is a tremendous amount of leverage that you get in your business that a lot of people ignore. On top of that, email is one of the most consumed media platforms, and it hasn't died down. So 61% of people check their email multiple times per day. 20% of people check it multiple times per hour. It has almost the same consumption rate as social media in terms of how engaged some of the users are of people reading their emails every single day. And what's cool about email is that it's actually uniform across age groups. And so you can see between 15 and 24, 25 and 44, 45 and 64, and 65 plus, pretty much everyone, 90% plus, or 84 the very end bracket there, read email all the time. If you're gonna master something, it's one that transcends age groups. And I'll bet you, even though we don't have the metric, it transcends countries as well. I would bet you that UK people probably respond similar to US people, probably even respond similar to Chinese people in terms of their email consumption. And I know just because I've gone back and forth with Chinese providers and warehouses and things like that, they're pretty responsive on email too. And so a massive, very invisible platform. And so as I think about email, the objective of the email has one of two purposes. One is to increase the likelihood that this person purchases in the future, or that they purchase. That's fundamentally it. And so it basically has the exact same objectives as content. And so it's just a different form of content consumption, except where you can guarantee that you get delivery. Whereas when you make a post, the algorithm decides who gets to see it. When you send an email, basically your past performance determines whether or not they get to see it. And there's a couple of little tricks to make sure you get in the right email inbox and not get in the promo tabs. We'll go over some of that stuff. But big picture, you actually have the list and you send it directly to them. And if you're embarrassed, by the way, that you haven't sent email, then worry not, because I am too, and I will show you the first email sent to my list just not that many months ago. That's obviously within acquisition.com. The portfolio companies send emails all the time, but I hadn't sent anything to Mosey Nation. And so this was it. So I started with subject, is this on? And I just said that because I thought it was funny. I started with a quote that I like a lot, which is, it only takes 20 hours of focused effort to get proficient in any skill. The problem is most people waste years before they start the first hour. So I've been making content for 4 or 5 years now, and I had yet to send an email. And so that quote of mine felt rather appropriate for myself. The thing is that I think you can model something like this, like if it has been a minute for you, like you're like, I should have been emailing. It's okay, you can start whenever you want, and the day you start is the day you start getting 45 plus returns on the time and money you put into it. So I said, after 13 years of business, I'm finally going to write you. I know, wild. The fact that it's taking me this long is doubly stupid, considering people think that I'm an author. And part of the reason that I actually didn't send emails before is that I'm so selective with your attention. I don't want to waste it ever. And so I would rather not send you something at all rather than send you something bad. That's number one. Number two is that I'm very picky with written word. And so if you ever see written word across any of my social channels, believe it or not, I wrote it. It either came out of my mouth or I physically typed it. It's directly from me, because for some reason I feel like written word carries more oomph than anything else does. And it's probably why even in like legal discourse, if you have written proof and contracts are legally binding, it's because it's written. There's something powerful about words. I basically break this whole down and say, hey, I'm starting Mosey Money Minute, which is basically the name of my newsletter. So my whole goal was, how do I provide value in under 60 seconds so that someone can read it and immediately get something that they can use in their business. And so my goal is that I hope I pay for myself with every email that I send, and I also include one thought that's improved my life. And so for here, if I were to like apply this to this, it'd be like, okay, this is kind of the thought that improved my life. And this one, I don't have a tactic that improves their business, but maybe just reminding them to send emails would be the first thing. But everyone after that are officially Mosey Money Minutes do. So let's dive into those. Now let's talk about different tactics. So first things first, everybody wants to talk about how much you can make from email, but no one talks about unsubscribing, right? No one wants, it's like the dirty other, oh yeah, people unsubscribe. Every time you send a communication out, there's gonna be people unsubscribe. And I don't see unsubscribing nearly as negatively as other people do, and I'll explain why. When I look at our people who show up to workshops, a lot of times they are people who unsubscribed. So it's not an insult. It's like they know who I am and they're in. I don't see it as a negative per se. Also, every single day, thousands of people unsubscribe from my Instagram, thousands of people unsubscribe from YouTube, but I just have more people who subscribe. And so I just see the process of advertising is letting people know about your stuff. And so if someone unsubscribes, they absolutely know about you and your stuff. And it doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to buy. It just might not mean that that form of communication or that particular inbox they opted in with is the one that they want to use. Fine, no big deal. So instead of trying to hide it, it's like probably if I see a brand try and make unsubscribing hard, I hate them. And so I have always tried to do the opposite of that. I think number one is that you want to make unsubscribing easy. Don't keep people captive. And let me explain by that. I don't want to keep sending emails to an uninterested segment of my list, because it'll actually make my domain deliverability go down long term. By sending it for vanity metrics of, look, I sent more emails, I actually decrease the likelihood that the people who do want to read my emails actually get them. And so that's why you want to make unsubscribing easy, because if you make it hard, they might not unsubscribe, but then they go dormant, which is actually worse for you. So make it easy. I want to be real with you for a second. If you haven't sent email, or you really don't send often, like once every 6 months or something, the first time you send an email, you're going to have a higher unsubscribe rate than normal, and that's okay. I call it shaking the trade. It's basically like pulling forward churn. It's the same thing if you correspond with customers who are on a recurring revenue business and you haven't been emailing them or haven't been reaching out to them, you will always get more churn. You'll get next month's churn and this month's churn all at once. And so the highest churn I ever had was on the first email I ever sent. And so it was like just over 1%, which is crazy, right? But now it's like 0.42 unsubscribe rate per email, which is fine. As long as we grow higher than that between emails, that's a good ROI. And it's like, you have to take the logical extreme here. If you are unafraid to email because you don't want to get unsubscribes, why do you have emails to begin with? It's kind of like saying, well, I don't want to post content because then people would stop following me. It's like, well, the only point of them following you is to advertise your stuff. And so if the logical extreme of this is just never do anything, then that's probably not the right conclusion. Number 2, and this one is a little bit more advanced, but very worth it. So HubSpot ran a really cool research study where they saw that they had an increase. So already insane ROI for email. They had a 791% increase in ROI from email from one thing, which is people who segmented their lists got way higher returns on email, which should be somewhat unsurprising, right? Like if you send the right emails to the right people, then they will be more likely to buy your stuff. So if I send a beginner email to a list of advanced people, they'll be like, this is not for me. And to the same degree, and also it doesn't have anything to do with the email, it just might not be right for them. And to the same degree, if I send an advanced thing to people who don't have a business or want to start a business, then they're gonna be like, this doesn't apply. And so it's way less about how good the email is and so much more about who's getting it. And so segmenting the list is basically like if you have any qualifiers on your opt-in, so like revenue, or if they have a business or don't have a business, which are some of the ones that we have in our opt-in process, this allows us to send content that's more applicable to those people. And so when we have our list, we say, oh, let's just send this to the 500K plus, let's just send this to the 5 million plus, let's just send this to the 0 to 100K. And so a lot of people want to lie because they think they're gonna get like a better experience if they go up, but like you're just gonna get stuff that doesn't apply to you. So just be honest when you're putting your info in. So let me pull up a sample email so we can break down the structure so you can think about it. Now, to be clear, you don't have to do this. I'm just gonna explain what I was doing, and if it's useful for you, great. Number 1, on the subject heading, I thought a lot about this because on some hand, there's a lot of internet marketers and digital guys who, you know, they split test the hell out of their subjects. And I thought about this more as like a podcast where it's like podcast episode X and then it just keeps going, because my thought, I'll explain, was if I can basically develop the brand of Mosey Money Minute to be very strong, then eventually it will get to the point where, independent of what I have after Mosey Money Minute, when people know that they always get value in the past when they read it, they'll just click. Going back and forth on this, I was like, I want to build the brand of my email to be strong. And so on one hand, you could say, well, if they know it's from you, then that could be the brand, but we send other emails as well that are not Mosey Money Minute. So I wanted Mosey Money Minute to have its own kind of like little space in someone's mind. That was a choice I made. You could obviously just have your subject be proof over promise. That's your call, but that's why I decided to stick with it, and that's what I've done. So right off the bat, I think about everything in terms of feedback cycles and reward. And so I want to reward every action that someone takes. And so if someone first reads the email, then if they've been rewarded in the past for Mosey Money Minute, they'll click and they'll open it. Now I need to reward them for that. So a lot of people think about behavior as what happened before that triggered someone to do something, but that's actually not how behavior works, and that's been proven. The way behavior works is that you did that thing because you did it another time in the past and rewarded for it. So if you want to see why someone does something, look at what happens after they do it. Because when you do a behavior, you do it to get something to change or to improve your life in some way, right? Words I like, I start the email here because I want someone, even in less than the time it takes to read the email, to immediately be rewarded for clicking and opening. For me, a quote or tweet is something that's, in one glance, they can be rewarded for taking the first action. That's the first thing I'm doing. Now, the next thing is that I have kind of the meat of my email. Now, for me, my meat of the email, I keep under, I think, 200 words, because it's roughly a minute. And so that's been kind of like the Mosey Money Minute kind of promise. That being said, we also send other emails that are really long. So Layla sends emails to the kind of like the most qualified businesses on the list that we have that, you know, generate the most revenue, and hers tend to be a little bit longer. And that's because she tends to teach more via story. I have a little bit more like tactical style. Her emails do great too. So I want to make sure that this doesn't seem like rule of law. I want to explain why I wrote my emails this way. So we have our tactic, and I very clearly, there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, I could put this other thing in. One concept, just keep it on one thing. Because as soon as you start, you're not writing a book here. It's just what is one very clear thing, and I just keep cutting it down until it's like this is what's happening. And so you want to basically introduce a problem or a condition that makes the solution viable. So no matter how good your product is, a stranger won't believe you because you're biased. Okay, so that's a problem. If strangers don't believe you, okay, so the easiest way to overcome this is overwhelming social proof. Okay, there's a solution. But now, how do I do that? And so then I put a little extra line. And so few businesses do it, here's an easy tactic to display tons of proof you already have but aren't showing. This is one where they already have all this stuff, they're 6 inches away from gold, and we just need to cross the barrier. And so I just said, cool, if you're brick and mortar, print out every 5-star review, screenshot it across all review sites online, then frame it with $1 frames you can get from the dollar store, cover your lobby floor to ceiling with them, and see the PS statement for a realtor example. So that also, and that's a little bit of foreshadowing, I'll show you, for something else that we do in the email. Now, if you're online, then you read the one for online. After that, it's like, cool, I delivered my 1 minute of value that any business owner can immediately use in their business, because almost every business has a few 5-star reviews on some platform that they can immediately repurpose to get strangers to believe them more, and then ultimately sell more stuff. I have my little sign off, and underneath I have a CTA. So if, hey, if you're scaling your business, go here. If you want to start a business, go here. So this goes to school. This goes to acquisition.com for workshops, because that's for businesses that we're not necessarily going to do a deal with, or maybe we'll do one in the future. It's just an easy way for us to meet them. So it's just like, cool, come fly out, we'd love to meet you. Okay, so PS, I always have a PS statement in every email because beyond the headline, it's the most read part of the email. So not having a PS statement is PS stupid. So have one. The thing is that I think about this as, again, what have they just done? So they have now read my email. So I want to reward them for reading my email, and I want to encourage people to click. Because one of the things that I think a lot of people try not to do is try to get people not to click or send too many links. So sending too many links is a bad thing, so that's true. In terms of getting someone to click, you want to regularly get people to click because you want your audience to be rewarded for clicking in general. And so if you have a blog that you send out, don't put the blog in the email. Put a really interesting nugget from the blog in the email and then click there so that they can read it. And so you're training the audience and rewarding them. Ideally, if the blog is good, they will do it again. Just like Mosey Money Minute, if your blog is good, it'll increase the likelihood they do it again. If your blog is bad or emails are bad, it'll decrease it. And so this is why I see this very much as content, because it has to be good. And think about the alternative scenario. If you have 4 good emails and then 1 terrible one, it can just like that one was just so useless that they're like, I'm not going to do this again. I would rather just extend a period of time where I haven't talked to somebody and just make sure that what I send them is good. And long term, if people don't open your emails, then you'll eventually end up in the promo tab, which is kind of like email death. Like no one ever really checks that, even if you have good stuff. And so you want to obviously get people to read your emails quickly. So that's one email. Now let's talk about a different tactic. So mobile optimized design. So right now, 60% of global internet traffic is mobile devices. And what's crazy is that a lot of people's emails are not optimized for mobile viewership. And that's where a lot of people are actually gonna be reading your thing. And so you wanna make sure that you look at your emails on a desktop format and on a mobile format so that they display the right way for the viewing platform they're being viewed through. When you do that, all you do is, first objective of email, increase the likelihood they convert. And this is especially true if you had images to your emails. This is more like e-commerce does a lot of this. That's where like images can get totally messed up, not look good. It just looks unprofessional and totally plummets the click-through rates for your emails. Number 4, consistent layout / format. I tend to love templates. I love to just figure out what works and then do it over and over and over again. So in the beginning, you might experiment a little bit, but if you see that a certain format gets more responses or more click-throughs, then it's like, cool, let's just do that over and over again. And so you'll notice that the Mosey Money Minutes more or less have the same format. They have the thing, they have the content, they have the CTA, and then they have some sort of PS statements, or the CTA is the PS statement. But that's included in every single one of them. I want people to know what they're going to get. Think about McDonald's. It's like, I don't want any surprises. I'm expecting Big Mac, I want fries, I want my Coke. And so today's Big Mac, fries, and Coke is different than yesterday's, but I don't want it to be different. It's not the same burger, but I want it to still be just as good. So let's rock on to the second one. Same thing, Mosey Money Minute. 391% increase in sales from one change. Okay, that's interesting. I'd be like, I would click that. So words I like, so this is the immediate reward, ideally for them clicking. So there's like, cool, I got some value from that. And I just use tested stuff because I just use the tweets that I know that people have shared the most. And so hopefully also, you might get people who share your newsletter or your emails as well, which is kind of the point. Now, after that, I've got my content bucket. Again, this is under 200-ish words. I just try to remind people that I keep this promise. Like, that's all, kept this under a minute, awesome. Then I have my CTA, and then I have my PS statement. And so you'll notice this very common theme. So similar subject, reward them for that, meat of the content, CTA, PS statement. You can alter, like where the CTA is, where the PS statements, like these things I think you can alter around, because a lot of times I just make memes for my PS statement. I don't think there's any science around it. I just think it's fun. You can do that, or you can obviously have your PS statement be your CTA for whatever it is. All of those are kind of viable. I don't like rules in general. The fundamentals are always going to be to reward for every step in the process. So because I can provide value to you in under a minute, I'll also tell you what this tactic was. So speed to contact. So I believe in this so much, I almost started a fund of buying businesses just to implement this one tactic. So it's simple to understand. It's hard to do, but if you can do it in a few minutes. So you call leads within 60 seconds of opting in. So Harvard Business Review published a study that demonstrated an average of 391% increase in sales. 391% increase in sales. So let me ask you this. Right now, is there anything else that you have on your docket that could quadruple the sales of your business? No? Well, then that would basically mean that calling leads fast should be the first priority that you have, because it could quadruple your sales. Because if there's nothing else that can do it, then that should be the priority of the business. And if you're like, man, I don't have the sales staff to be able to have that kind of coverage, well, you can afford that sales staff with the 391% increase in sales that you're gonna get as a result. I love tactics like this that are just massive unlocks in businesses, and that's the type of stuff that we go over in our scaling workshops, which is why that was the CTA. Next tactical nugget. So optimize preview text. So this is one that I actually learned more recently for our stuff, so maybe embarrassing, whatever. Optimizing preview text for the email. So you know when you look at all of your emails, you see the bold subject, and then after that you've got like that little bit of text afterwards. That little bit of text is kind of like when you hover on a YouTube video and it shows you a couple of clips, it's preview, right? And so that preview has a big impact on how many people choose to open the email. And so right now it has, for us, had an increase of 24%. And just to give you an idea here, 24% of people, so 1 out of 4 people, check that text before they even open. And so that's what they reported. I would bet it's even higher than that. It takes 10 seconds to do this and is so worth it, because if you don't, then it'll just take the first 150 characters of your email, which may have just been like, hey John, blah, blah, blah. Like it's not valuable, right? And so we want to pull the most valuable nuggets forward, especially things that induce curiosity. Next tactical nugget, clear CTA. So I'm not going to harp on, like, of course you want to have a reason to do it, and you have a reason to do it now, and tell them exactly what they get. Those are, CTA 101. But I think that having basically a continued interest CTA and then have a I want to take action and buy CTA are not terrible ideas to have in an email. And so I'm not saying, like, I'm not one of these people who's like, only have one link, only have one CTA. I think you can have more than one, but it's more that you only want to have one per audience or per objective. Now, if you have 5, then that can get, kind of aggressive overall, but I think 1 or 2, you're safe, as long as there's a clear reason that someone would click one versus the other. All right, let's rock another one. So Mosey Money Minute. So easy 21% profit increase for recurring businesses. So boom, reinforce. If you grow your business without fixing your problems, you grow your problems instead. Eek. All right, so annual renewal fees. So this works for any business, recurring or reoccurring, but especially recurring, obviously. So if you have a membership or recurring revenue model and keep people over a year, this is a great profit tactic that adds a ton of revenue. So it's a one-time annual fee on top of your monthly. So it doesn't interfere with front-end sales because it happens a year later. So it's not immediate. So people don't not sign up because of this fee. And if someone stays a year, they're also very unlikely to leave. And so the fee is usually the price of about 1 to 3 months. And by adding it in, you add 8 to 24% to your revenue without incurring any cost. So if you have call it a 20% margin business, and you add another 20% to revenue with no added cost, you doubled the profit of the business from one thing, which is by adding an annual renewal fee. And so this allows you to keep your advertised pricing, because that's what influences your conversions, whatever your monthly price is, but then also get the benefit of having the profit of basically a price that's about 8-ish to 25% more than your current in terms of annualized. And so, for example, if I charge $39 a month, I might make my annual renewal $99. So that's 2 months. This takes my annual revenue per customer from $468 to $567. It's a 21% increase. And so it makes my effective monthly rate $47 per month. So look at the difference here. But if I had it at $47, I might convert significantly fewer customers. And so this kind of blends the benefits of a lower cost up front, but gets the benefits of the higher price. And that's why it's such a cool tactic. Very effective if you use it well. So again, CTA, and then this one was a funny one, where the other ones were more tactical. This one is like, hey, here's how it's just a funny meme. So in the spirit of PS statements, if you like these types of tactics and want 60-second things that you can immediately use to make more money in your business, you can just go to acquisition.com/newsletter, and you can opt in there, and I'll just